There is a massive assault on assault weapons by the left lately. Let's get to the bottom of this. What's in the news with stories on free-range kids, cigarette smuggling, prison state costs, American GIs killing for sport, and jaywalkers fined by text. And finally, an Ask Me Anything segment where I answer your burning questions. This episode is brought to you by ZenCash, a cryptocurrency that infuses privacy, anonymity, and security done right. Also brought to you by NordVPN, the fastest, easiest to use service to protect your online presence that I've ever seen, and I use it every day.
Welcome to The Lava Flow, channeling the flow of information to the libertarian, anarcho-capitalist, voluntarist, and agorist community. Find us at thelavaflow.com. Here's your host, Roger Paxton.
Thank you for joining me this week. From the home of the oldest auto race in America, the Mount Washington Hill Climb, hosted since 1904 on Mount Washington Auto Road, this is the show that will bring you the people, places, and events that everyone in the Liberty Rebellion needs to know. You can catch me on Twitter at @TheLavaFlowPod. This is episode 87, Assault on Assault Rifles, and it's Tuesday, April 10th, 2018, when there have already been more than 349 people killed by police this year, and the United States debt clock shows us at $21 trillion. $125 billion, $68 million in debt. What's wrestling my jimmies this week? You're about to find out. Let's do it to it. First things first, I want to apologize for leaving you guys hanging without an episode last week. I had most of this episode written and ready to be recorded while I was on a vacation, but we had the worst vacation possible, dealing with one kid with the flu and another with bronchitis and an ear infection. It was a total disaster. Thankfully, both boys are feeling better now, but they're still stuck down south for a week because the doctor recommended they not travel with the flu since it compromises your immune system. So for the second week out of the last 3 weeks, I have a bachelor week, which means I'll get lots of work done and sit around in my underwear. Yeah, I'm pretty boring. Another bit of house cleaning. I just finished my second audiobook and submitted it for review to Audible for release, and I'm really excited about it. It's always such a feeling of accomplishment when I do that. This process takes a week or two for review, but then the book will be available, and I'll let you guys know when it's out so you can be sure to get a copy of it. The book is actually Carl Wapner's Neither Bullets Nor Ballots, Essays on Voluntarism. This is an amazing book, and you really don't want to miss it. So let's jump into the meat of this episode. As you all know, there has been an assault on assault weapons, or should I say so-called assault weapons, which is a word that the left uses to try to demonize them. The term assault weapon wasn't used for civilian semi-automatic weapons until the 80s, and it was incorporated by the left, of course, to make the weapon sound menacing and dangerous. Everyone's against assault, right? But let's look at the term and its origins. The term assault rifle is generally attributed to Adolf Hitler and his crew, who for propaganda purposes used the German word Sturmgewehr, which translates to storm rifle or assault rifle, as the new name for the MP-43, subsequently known as the Sturmgewehr 44 or STG 44. Now, the left also uses the same term for propaganda these days. Go figure. But there's also a U.S. Army definition for what they think an assault rifle actually is. Their definition states that an assault rifle is a short, compact, selective fire weapon that fires a cartridge intermediate in power between submachine gun and rifle cartridges. This is a pretty specific definition, but they go even further to say a firearm must have at least all of the following characteristics to be considered as an assault rifle. As they said, it must be capable of selective fire. It must have an intermediate power cartridge, more power than a pistol but less than a standard rifle or battle rifle, such as the 7.62 by 39mm and the 5.56 by 45mm NATO round. Its ammunition must be supplied from a detachable box magazine. It must have an effective range of at least 300 meters or 330 yards. Now, it doesn't get much more specific than this. The key here is 2 words: selective fire. This means the weapon has the capability to be adjusted to fire in semi-automatic, burst mode, and or fully automatic firing mode. Clearly, civilian rifles, including the much-hated AR-15, is not an assault rifle based on this definition. Period. End of fucking story. It may look scary, but it's no scarier than most deer rifles in its actual function. But regardless of what you call them, banning them will stop a metric shit ton of crime and save lives, right? Well, interestingly enough, we can look back just a couple of decades to see. Way back to the 1994 Bill Clinton assault weapons ban. It turns out that various independent studies came to the same conclusion. The 1994 ban had no measurable impact on the number of shootings or the number of shooting deaths while it was in effect. A 2005 report from the National Research Council, for example, noted that a recent evaluation of the short-term effects of the 1994 federal assault weapons ban did not reveal any clear impacts on gun violence outcomes. A 2004 study sponsored by the National Institute of Justice found that while the ban appeared to have reduced the number of crimes committed with assault weapons, any benefits were likely to have been outweighed by steady or rising use of non-banned semi-automatics. As a result, the Justice study found there has been no discernible reduction in the lethality and injuriousness of gun violence, based on indicators like the percentage of gun crimes resulting in death or the share of gunfire incidents resulting in injury. The main reason the failure for the ban to make a difference was that, frankly, assault weapons account for a tiny share of gun crime, less than 2%. Even among mass shootings, most didn't involve an assault weapon in the decade before the ban went into effect. Mass shootings didn't stop during the ban either. There were 16 while the ban was in effect, which resulted in 237 deaths or injuries. In fact, it was while the ban was in effect that the Columbine High School massacre happened, in which 13 students were killed and 24 injured. So the assault weapons ban was a complete and dismal failure, any way you look at it. And of course it was. Just like the war on drugs is. But why would you ever even want or need a so-called assault weapon? Well, I own several, and they're all for self-defense and recreation. Hell, I love shooting the damn things. They're a blast, literally. But more importantly, they are great for self-defense, especially if what you're defending against is multiple attackers or violators of your rights, including the government, if necessary. As Thomas Jefferson said in a letter to James Madison, "What country can preserve its liberties if their rulers are not warned from time to time that their people preserve the spirit of resistance? Let them take arms." Thomas Jefferson knew full well that colonists didn't run the British Army off with their words. The colonists shot the bastards. But also important is protecting yourself and your family from criminals, just your average criminal. Breitbart looked through media reports over a 6-week period in June to August in 2017 and found 24 reported instances of these types of weapons being used to save lives. And we all know that the vast majority of incidents like this are not reported to the police, much less in the newspapers, because the vast majority of times where a gun is used to save lives, there's not a single shot fired. These weapons were used by all sorts of people, from a 62-year-old Marine veteran during a home invasion by 3 suspects, to an 11-year-old boy who saved his family from a charging bear. These guns save lives, often and effectively. So go buy a gun, any gun, today. Learn how to use it effectively and then keep it close. Hell, buy more than one just to piss off the liberals.
Have you subscribed to the Lava Flow on iTunes or any mobile device yet? Then what's wrong with you? Go to thelavaflow.com/subscribe so you don't miss a minute of the show. And while you're subscribing, make sure to leave me a 5-star rating and review the show to help others find our podcast. thelavaflow.com/subscribe.
It's time to shake up your podcast feed, folks, by subscribing to Lions of Liberty, the only libertarian variety show out there. Spend Mondays with me, Mark Claire, as I feature in-depth interviews with great names in the libertarian community and fun roundtable discussions.
Electric Liberty Land with me, Brian McWilliams, every Wednesday, your weekly dose of comedy, culture, and liberty.
And Felony Fridays with me, John Odermatt, where I expose injustice in the broken criminal justice system.
Find us on iTunes, Stitcher, and at lionsofliberty.com.
What's in the news? The news you need to know from a libertarian perspective.
In free-range kids news, Utah has now become the first state to pass, unanimously, the free-range kids bill, which specifically allows parents to let their kids run errands, play outside, and even wait briefly in the car without fear of arrest. The bill, which Governor Gary Herbert announced Friday that he'd signed, specifies that it isn't neglectful to let kids do things alone like travel to school, explore a playground, or stay in the car. The law takes effect May 8th. Utah's law is the first in the country, said Lenore Skenazy, who coined the term free-range parent. Utah lawmakers said they were prompted to pass the law after seeing other states where parents had been investigated and in some cases had their children temporarily removed when people reported seeing kids playing basketball in their own yards or walking to school alone. The law states the child must be mature enough to handle these things, but leaves the age purposely open-ended so police and prosecutors can work on a case-by-case basis, Republican Senator Lincoln Fillmore of South Jordan said. Fillmore also said allowing kids to try things alone helps prepare them for the future, though some have raised concerns the law could be used as defenses in child abuse cases if not carefully deployed. Skenazy, who wrote the book Free-Range Kids after writing about letting her 9-year-old ride the New York City subway alone, has said the law is a good way to reassure parents who might be nervous about their parenting decisions. I love when I can bring you guys news of people getting more freedom. Sadly, it's extremely rare these days, but I really do try, I promise. My goal's always been to try and bring you at least one such story each episode, but that's been damn near impossible to do many weeks. Good job, Utah. And this is no-nonsense legislation, and I'm glad to see it. My only concern is that the determination of the law is left up to nanny state police and prosecutors. These are the people who want to rule over you, and they use their power on a daily basis to do so. I'm hopeful that this law will be applied fairly, but laws are rarely applied fairly. In taxation is theft news, a new report shows that thanks to high taxes, cigarette smuggling in the U.S. is very high, depending on what state you're talking about. The highest rate of smuggling of contraband cigarettes was found in New York at 56%, followed by Arizona at 44%, Washington State at 43%, New Mexico at 41%, and Minnesota at 35%. The experts added that despite ranking 6th place, Nevada is worth mentioning too, because it leapt a staggering 35 places year over year from its previous position as 41st in the nation. This change is no doubt a function of a 2015 tax hike of a whole $1 a pack. The experts pointed out that cigarettes are also smuggled out of states, particularly when their neighbors have a much higher excise tax. The opportunity is large not only for individuals trying to save a buck by crossing onto another taxing jurisdiction, but also for organized crime cells seeking to make thousands of dollars. The top outbound smuggling state in this year's study is New Hampshire at 85%. For every 100 cigarettes consumed in the Live Free or Die state, another 85 are smuggled out of the state, probably to neighboring states. The report also pointed out that tax evasion is not the only negative consequence of high taxes, and explained that along with this comes an increase in corruption and all sorts of crimes associated with illicit cigarette trafficking. The report urges authorities to take a broader perspective when considering such taxes. It says many state governments around the country need to reassess their reliance on cigarette excise taxes. The taxes themselves undermine health goals by driving illicit shopping while inspiring rafts of other unwanted behavior. Wait, what? When you tax something at high rates, it goes underground and creates a lot of crime around it? Who would have thunk it? Oh, right. Sorry. Anybody who can string 2 brain cells together would have thunk it. It makes you wonder what prohibition of items really does. One cryptocurrency project that I'm most excited about right now is ZenCash, with privacy, anonymity, and security done right. You can read all about ZenCash at thelavaflow.com/zen. Now look, I've read a ton of white papers on crypto, and this is the first one I've read that mentioned voluntary and voluntarist not once but 7 times. These are our people, and they are on the right track to mix great technology, excellent marketing, and awesome uses for their product. These guys get it, and they understand what crypto is all about. Now, this is a project, guys, that I believe in 100%. So much so that I have staked some of my own Zen to run a secure node on their network. So don't miss out on checking out this awesome project at thelavaflow.com/zen. In prison state news, the cost of imprisoning each of California's 130,000 inmates is expected to reach a record $75,560 in the next year. That's enough to cover the annual cost of attending Harvard University and still have plenty of money left over for pizza and beer. Governor Jerry Brown's spending plan for the fiscal year that starts July 1st includes a record $11.4 billion for the Corrections Department, while also predicting that there will be 11,500 fewer inmates in 4 years because voters in November approved early releases for many inmates. The price for each inmate in California has doubled since 2005, even as court orders related to overcrowding have reduced the population by about a quarter. Salaries and benefits for prison guards and medical providers drove much of the increase, of course. The result is a per-inmate cost that is the highest in the nation, and $2,000 above tuition, fees, room and board, and other expenses to attend Harvard. Since 2015, California's per-inmate costs have surged nearly $10,000, or about 13%, in just a couple of years. New York is a distant second, and overall costs at about $69,000 per year. Critics say with fewer inmates, the costs should be falling. Chris Hone, executive director of the left-leaning California Budget and Policy Center, said, "Now that we're incarcerating less, we haven't ramped the system back down." For example, the Corrections Department has 1 employee for every 2 inmates, compared with 1 employee for every 4 inmates in 1994. This is just common sense. When your population goes down, you have to draw down your costs as well. It's simple economics. If my company brings in fewer customers, I have to lower my operating costs to compensate, or risk going out of business. Of course, the California prison industry doesn't have to worry about going out of business, so they don't give a shit about their costs. In War is Hell news, an American soldier has pled guilty to being part of a kill team who deliberately murdered Afghan civilians for sport last year. Army Specialist Jeremy Morlock, 23, told a military court he had helped to kill 3 unarmed Afghans. "The plan was to kill people, sir," he told an Army judge in Fort Lee near Seattle after his plea. In a series of videotaped confessions to investigators, some of which have been broadcast on American television, Morlock detailed how he and other members of his Stryker Brigade set up and faked combat situations so that they could kill civilians who posed absolutely no threat to them at all. 4 other soldiers are still to come to trial over the incidents. This case is, of course, a PR disaster for America's military and has been compared to the notorious incidents of torture that emerged from the Abu Ghraib prison in Iraq. The German magazine Der Spiegel published 3 pictures that showed American soldiers, including Morlock, posing with the corpse of a young Afghan boy as if it were a hunting trophy. Some soldiers apparently kept body parts of their victims, including a skull, as souvenirs. In a statement issued in response to the publication of the photos, the U.S. Army apologized to the families of the dead. "The photos are repugnant to us as human beings and contrary to the standards and values of the United States Army," the statement said. I shit you not. Morlock has told investigators that the murders took place between January and May last year and were instigated by an officer in his unit, Staff Sergeant Calvin Gibbs. He described how elaborate plans were made to pick out civilian targets, kill them, and then make their deaths look like they were insurgents. In his confession, Morlock described shooting a victim as Gibbs tossed a grenade at him. "We identify a guy. Gibbs makes a comment like, 'You guys want to wax this guy or not?' Morlock said in the confession. Morlock now stands to be sentenced to at least 24 years in jail, but with eligibility for parole after 7 years. This has come about because Morlock struck a plea bargain that will see a lighter sentence in return for testifying against his fellow soldiers. This is heinous, completely and utterly disgusting. Parole after 7 years for killing innocent civilians in the guise of a military soldier who was supposed to be there to protect them, or so we've been told. Fuck this guy in the neck with a grenade. Are you looking for a way to protect your online presence quickly, easily, and inexpensively while still surfing the net with high speed? Well, NordVPN is the best way that I've ever found to do just that. With over 2,500 servers worldwide, they cover every continent except Antarctica. But, as they say, that's only because penguins just don't get the internet. They also offer double data encryption, which encrypts data not once, but twice. And they never log what you do and where you go on the internet. Also, NordVPN is fast, the fastest VPN service that I've ever used. They have apps for Windows, Mac, iOS, and Android, so you can protect all of your traffic from all of your devices with NordVPN. Starting as low as $3.29 per month, they're also inexpensive, and they take Bitcoin too. With NordVPN, you can securely access any website from anywhere around the world, safely share files via P2P networks, and enjoy the fastest VPN experience without compromising your online security and privacy. Get signed up for the VPN service that I personally use every time I hit the internet at thelavaflow.com/VPN. Again, that's thelavaflow.com/VPN. In Big Brother news, jaywalkers in China are to be named, shamed, and slapped with an instant SMS fine, and it's all thanks to cutting-edge artificial intelligence. In the southeastern city of Shenzhen, police have set up AI-powered boards by crossings. If you jaywalk, a CCTV camera will scan your face and flash it up on the huge screen for everybody to see. If that wasn't embarrassing enough, there are now plans to ping offenders' phones with quick-fire fines as soon as they violate this grim rule. The AI company behind the billboards, Intellifusion, is in talks with mobile phone networks and local social media platforms to enforce the new system. The firm is reportedly speaking with WeChat, China's all-encompassing messaging app, which locals use for everything from work and personal chat to mobile payments and blogging. WeChat currently boasts over 1 billion users compared with China's 1.3 billion population. Wang Zhong, Intellifusion's director of marketing solutions, said, "Jaywalking has always been an issue in China. A combination of technology and psychology can greatly reduce instances of jaywalking and will prevent repeat offenses." In the 10 months to February this year, a whopping 13,930 jaywalkers had their mugs displayed on the screen at one busy crossing, Shenzhen police announced last month. Now, this move is part of a bigger surveillance push in China to track their local citizens, and it's being powered by a network of 170 million CCTV cameras, many of which are fitted with AI, including face recognition technology. These security cams are already being used to regulate traffic and pinpoint drivers who break the rules. An estimated 400 million more security cams will be installed in the next 3 years. That will mean more than one camera for every 2 people. Holy shit, guys. I mean, Big Brother is watching for real. This is some real 1984 type shit right here. I wonder how long it's going to be before this sort of technology reaches the U.S.
Exercise your free market muscles by going to thelavaflow.com/support and giving a per episode donation of as little as $1 an episode, or use Bitcoin. Get exclusive content, rewards, and help the Lava Flow become fiscally neutral while providing you more content. thelavaflow.com/support.
This is Chris Spangle, and I am the host of We Are Libertarians, which you can find in iTunes, Google Play, or at wearelibertarians.com. We are a podcast that brings you all of the irreverence that modern politics deserves by examining current events from a libertarian perspective. So please, check us out at wearelibertarians.com.
Ask me anything. Roger will answer your questions about, well, anything. Do you have a question for Roger? Email AMA@thelavaflow.com or add your question to the latest AMA thread in the Pax Libertas Productions Facebook group.
It's that time again, where I answer your questions. As always, I'll start with my patrons and move on from there. Ryan P., a longtime supporter of the show, asked 5 questions. I've answered 4 of them in previous episodes already, so here is his last question. Can you please give a history of the Free State Project? How did it begin? What can communities do to begin creating free city or free county or free state projects in their own backyards? New Hampshire has made real strides towards a more libertarian government and state. How can others begin that process elsewhere? Can that be done without a strong local LP? Does the Free State Project only work if it can take root in lesser populated areas, or could someone start the Free Boston Project or Free Nashville Project? Ryan, thanks so much for the question. The Free State Project was founded in 2001 after founder Jason Sorens wrote an article about the idea of continuing an American tradition of political migration, which includes groups such as the Mormon settlers in Utah, Amish religious communities, and the Jamestown 70, an earlier effort to influence the politics of a particular state through deliberate migration. After reaching 5,000 signers, the participants selected New Hampshire as the destination state in 2003 based on several factors including low population, libertarian-leaning state, and low taxes. In February of 2016, the Free State Project reached its goal of 20,000 signers of the Statement of Intent, which simply reads, "I hereby state my solemn intent to move to the state of New Hampshire within 5 years after 20,000 participants have signed up. Once there, I will exert the fullest practical effort toward the creation of a society in which the maximum role of civil government is the protection of individuals' life, liberty, and property." That goal triggered the 5-year clock to move. There are still 3 years left, and we have reached nearly 1/4 of our goal of 20,000 libertarians in the state. As to the rest of your question, popping up more free state or free city movements kind of defeats the purpose in my mind. Libertarians are a very small minority of people in the country. If there was something that could work in a dozen different places, it probably already would have done so by now. Concentrating libertarians in a single, small, and lightly populated area is the only way to have an impact. Diluting that impact by having competing multiple locations will lower that chance of success, in my opinion. However, there are other projects out there to look at if you want, such as Liberland, FreeSociety.com, Seasteading, and even the Blue Ridge Liberty Project in North Carolina. I also think there's something in Wyoming somewhere. None of these have yet seen anything close to the success of the Free State Project, which is why I'm here in New Hampshire. Thanks so much for the question. Another longtime supporter of the show, Carl W., asked a similar question. FSP has over 4,000 movers, maybe nearly 5,000, and there were well over 2,000 when the 20,000th pledge was procured in 2016. What do you think are the odds of getting to the full 20,000 by within the 5-year window? Are we expecting a big surge in year 5? Now, Carl, that's a great question. I think the chances are very low, if not zero, that we will see 20,000 movers in the next 3 years. However, I do see a huge surge coming. As a matter of fact, the rate of movers have risen every year over the last 2 years. I expect that to continue to rise, with a large number moving in year 5. I expect that by the end of year 5, we'll have close to 10,000 libertarians living in the state. As of today, that number is just under 4,400 out of a current 23,778 signers. I call this already an unqualified success. It's definitely been the most successful libertarian movement in the United States history. But there's nothing saying that the Free State Project has to stop at 5 years. That's a question the board will have to take up as we get closer to that 5-year mark. Do we end the project and let it grow organically by word of mouth? Do we allow the FSP to continue its mission even after 5 years, continuing to work to bring people to the state? Or something in between? Your guess is as good as mine right now. Daryl W. Perry, a supporter of the show, asked 3 questions. Since they're all really short ones to answer, I'll go ahead and take them all here at once. He asked, I've accepted a spot on the Innocence Project marathon team for the New York City Marathon and need to raise funds to secure that spot. Will you help me be able to run in the New York City Marathon? Yes, Daryl, I will. And I have. As you know, I donated personally to you. And a couple of episodes, I asked all of my listeners to do the same thing. So, look, guys, if you're listening, please go to run.freetalklive.com to donate to this amazing cause of the Innocence Project and help Daryl enter this marathon. Question number 2 from Daryl, how are you coming on the weight loss? As of this writing, Daryl, I'm at about 84 pounds lost, which is more than halfway towards my goal. And for those of you who may not know, Daryl is a huge inspiration for me wanting to lose so much weight. So, Daryl, thank you very much for that. And question number 3 from Daryl. Will you be attending Fork Fest, which is what we called Somalia Fest, Shire Fest this year? Yes, I will. Since Jess and I are producing Pork Fest this year, we're going to be arriving a couple of days before Pork Fest to have some family time while Pork Fest is going on at the time. So we will get to hang out with all of you guys, and I'm looking forward to it because I'm sure Ian is going to put me back on Free Talk Live, and that is always so much fun. Daryl, thanks so much for all the questions. Brian S., another supporter of the show, asked, how do you balance work, life, and activism? And interestingly, another listener, Tristan, asked a similar question. How do you stay energized and motivated with so many balls in the air? So I'm going to try to answer both of these at once to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, so to speak. I mean, it's a tough balance, frankly, and it requires a lot of sacrifices in free time. Honestly, my calendar is my best friend. I live and die by my calendar. This is what keeps me on track, as balanced as possible and sane. I'm currently working to set myself up to be able to leave my day job career and work more from home with a lot of smaller projects and doing audiobooks to compensate for the lost income. It's going to be tough to do, but I'm getting there. This alone will free up several hours per week of getting ready for work, to go to the office, and my round-trip commute of more than an hour a day. More time for activism. As far as staying energized and motivated, it's easy as fuck. I mean, I've always been the goal-oriented type. When I set a goal, I crush it, or I die trying. The goal that keeps me energized and motivated is a lofty one, and one that I'm likely not going to see the end of. So I will probably literally die trying to reach this one. That goal is simply that I am fighting to end the state, and I'm not going to rest until the state is fucking dead. I'm sick and tired of allowing a thieving, abusing, murderous system to work with impunity. So I will use whatever resources I can to end it. I did take a pledge, after all, to exert the fullest practical effort toward the creation of a society in which the maximum role of civil government is the protection of individuals' life, liberty, and property. And as far as I'm concerned, the maximum role of government is a zero role. And you guys can help me free up some activism time by becoming a supporter of this show. You can go to thelavaflow.com/support, leave a per-episode donation, and that will help me get even closer to my goal of being able to work from home and have much more time to give you more content, do more activism, and just live an awesome life. Thanks so much for the question, Brian and Tristan. And the last question I'm going to answer this week comes from Link W, yet another supporter of the show. She asked 2 questions. First was, why in the show when you read off the debt clock do you say it shows us in debt? Ain't my debt, she says. And that's a really good question, and one that I actually considered when I wrote that line for the first time. While you and I did not technically amass this debt, of course, we're still paying it, unfortunately, because men with guns are stealing our hard-earned money to pay it. But I do get your point. I didn't sign any fucking contract to put myself into debt for the state, and neither did Link, or hell, for that matter, neither did any single living person. So technically, while she's right, it's not our debt. It's still the debt that we collectively are being forced to pay, even if against our will. And Link's second question is, how long are you going to let Daryl W. Perry get away with calling Keene the liberty media capital of the world before your efforts will surpass it? That's a great one. Thank you, Link. Sadly, it's going to be a long time, if ever, that I would surpass the media efforts that are going on in Keene. With Free Talk Live being on dozens of radio stations around the world, I will likely never have the reach that they do. But I'm working on it for damn sure. Thanks, everyone, for the awesome questions. I have several more questions in the queue from people, and I'll get to those in a few weeks. You can send me your questions to ama@thelavaflow.com or join the Pax Libertas Productions fan group on Facebook and ask your questions in the periodic post I put in there asking for more questions from you guys. Or even better, support the show at thelavaflow.com/support, and your question goes to the top of the pile. Thank you for listening to the show this week. As always, I need to thank my favorite bag lady, Jessica, for her help with the show. For the show notes to this episode, where I put links and other information that's been on the show, go to thelavaflow.com/87. I've got 3 new supporters this week. Chris L. and Will S. both pledged $1 per episode on Patreon. Thank you so much, guys. And Matthew B. pledged $2.50 per episode on Patreon. Awesome, Matthew. Thank you. Thanks to Chris, Will, Matthew, and all of my awesome supporters, I'm at $258 per episode, or 51.6% of the way towards my next goal of $500. Now, if you've noticed, I've gone backwards a bit this week because I had several donors who had to lower their pledges because I'm putting out weekly content now instead of every other week, and I really do appreciate all the support for all of you guys who had to scale back a little bit. Thanks so much. But the good news is I haven't lost any supporters in quite some time, so that's great. So anyway, thank you for all of your support, guys. And remember, when I hit this next goal, I'm going to be upping the content that I bring you from half an hour per week to a full hour. I know you want more content, and I want to give it to you. So add your pledge today to help me bring you twice the lava flow that you're getting today. So exercise your free market muscles by going to thelavaflow.com/support and giving a per episode donation of as little as $1 an episode using Federal Reserve notes through Patreon or Bitcoin through Coinbase. I want to be able to bring you more content soon, so make sure to add your donation today to help make that happen. Also, I have a new review this week. DJ Sishu, whatever, I have no idea how to pronounce that, said, hard-hitting Liberty content. Excellent podcast when you desire a perspective and language that is no holds barred from a Liberty perspective. DJ, thank you so much for that awesome review. It's much appreciated. And if you guys have a minute and you want to hear your review on the show, please go to thelavaflow.com/Apple and leave me a rating and a review. All the cool kids are doing it. Thank you to everyone who has left me a rating and a review so far. You guys rock. To all of you who haven't, can you guys help me out and go leave a review for me? Go to thelavaflow.com/Apple to do that now. Until next time, keep striking the root.
Thank you for listening to The Lava Flow at thelavaflow.com. Don't miss an episode. Subscribe now at thelavaflow.com/subscribe. This has been a Pax Libertas Productions podcast.